Okay, I'm here. When I say here, I'm at the set of The Chosen.
Yes.
For an unaired season. We don't give too many secrets away, but Stan Jantz, you lead Come and See, which is, you have to explain because people are familiar with The Chosen.
Right.
We all have the app by now, but what's Come and See?
Come and See is a nonprofit, and we exist to fulfill a vision that originally came from Dallas. Mm-hmm. And that is to enable 1 billion people to experience the authentic Jesus and to be able to do it for free. Mm-hmm. And that really came from Dallas. And so our board chair, Mark Green, kind of picked that up and decided let's form this nonprofit so we can fulfill that vision. Mm-hmm. So we've been building a team for the last year, and we have a mission that's kind of around 3 pillars, we call it. There's pillars in here, right?
Right, so sure, like literally, yes, exactly.
We have 3 of them.
Yeah.
And the first pillar is production.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we kind of use, the phrase we use is appeal to the one. Now, you're at Talbot, I'm at Biola. Yep. I'm a trustee.
At Biola University.
I went there as a student, met my wife there. Yeah. The first time I saw The Chosen was at Biola University.
Really? Okay.
And I kind of came, not kicking and screaming, but I grew up around Christian media. My family owned a Christian bookstore chain.
I shared similar skepticism of Christian film and media.
Yes. And so the word cheesy once in a while comes up.
Yeah.
So, but I had the app on my phone, and I went up to the dean of the Snyder School of Cinema and Media Arts, Tom Helene, who's from AMC Networks, a world-class, production
Walking
person.
Dead, Breaking Bad guy,
Absolutely. Quality, that kind of thing. And I said, Tom, look at this app. And at that time, there were, I think, 300 million views. And our students need to know about this.
Yeah.
We should do an event
at
Biola.
Okay.
And I kind of forgot about it, let it go. And about 3 weeks ago, he calls me and says, we're doing this event.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Would you come?
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
And I thought, okay, yes, of course I will. But I came with low expectations.
Right.
And I sat with 2,500 people. That was my first surprise, how many people were there.
Interesting.
And there were faculty, there were students, there were neighbors, there were people from, it was just extraordinary. I couldn't believe it. And so Dallas did a video greeting, and then up popped episode 1, season 1.
Okay.
And within about 5-10 minutes, I thought, this is different.
It's a whole different level. Yeah.
The quality really drew me in.
Yep.
And so when I say appeal to the one, I was with 2,500 people.
Right.
But it was speaking to me.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong Christian.
Right,
I went to Biola. My family owned Christian bookstores.
Sure.
I've written books. And it's like, no, I'd never been touched that way on a kind of a one-to-one basis with this story that I knew well, but not experienced that way. And so it wasn't long after that Mark Green called me and says, I want to talk to you about something. So he came out. I had no idea. But for the first maybe 15 minutes of our conversation, I was just talking about The Chosen. Oh, this event, you can't believe it. It's so good.
Right.
And there were 2,500 people there. And he said, well, that's what I'm here to talk to you about.
I actually knew he was going to go talk to you.
You
so
did?
That was super fun.
Oh, gosh.
So because we were doing some stuff with He Gets Us campaign, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so then, come and see then. 1 billion people. Now, how does that work? Because, I mean, we all have heard the story. This was the biggest funded project up to history to that moment. And so it's on the CW. You can't give it away if it's on the CW. It's streaming. How would that work?
So that's where, again, that Pillar 1 appeal to the
I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. Yeah, Pillar 1's production.
No, but no, it's fine. It fits in perfectly. How do you reach 1 billion people? Well, you can't do with a typical TV show that's in English.
Right.
So that first pillar of production and quality. So we exist then to make it possible for all 7 seasons to be done.
Okay.
And that takes funding.
Right, sure.
So the funding model that existed before Come and See was first crowdfunding, which was a 1 season, and then the next 2 were crowdfunding. Right. And very effective, but not effective enough to produce the quality.
Production costs. Continue, the quality goes up too. You can see that. I mean, we're in the set, one of the sets for the next season. That's not out yet, so don't take screenshots.
No, I won't. so that was absolute key to bring that stability, if you will, financial stability, and then, but the second thing is, well, how are we going to reach 1 billion people?
Right.
Well, you know about Every Tribe, Every Nation, the Illuminations Project, this whole idea of getting the Bible translated into the heart languages of every language on earth. There's 6,000 of them. Yeah. Now, what our goal is to translate both through dubbing and subtitling, called dubs and subs. Yeah. All 7 seasons into 600 languages. Now, you will reach, with 600, you reach 95% of the world that can understand.
Ethno-linguistic groups get smaller and smaller as you go down. Correct. Not that they're not important. We want to get to every tongue, tribe, and nation, but
Correct. And there are some that English may be a second language, but they're perfectly capable of understanding it. Right. And so for that to happen, it's going to take an unprecedented effort. Right. So we brought a guy, God brought us a guy, Rick Dempsey, who worked for Disney for 35 years. He ran all the translation and localization projects for Disney.
Amazing.
Reported to the president.
Wow.
It just so happened that he was retiring, and we got a connection through Brad Hill at Glue, and he said, yeah, I know a guy you might be able to talk to. So Rick came into the picture and is doing extraordinary work, but he has the knowledge, the connections, and the ability to actually direct, because there's an art to voice dubbing. You need actors to do it.
Sure.
So we're going to do 100 languages dubbed and all 600 in subtitles.
Right.
And that is both, it's an extraordinarily complex project because, as you know as a theologian, if you translate it and it means something in English, if you take it and do it into Portuguese, and that's Brazilian Portuguese, but you got Portugal Portuguese.
Yep.
Some of those words and idioms may not mean quite the same thing.
Very true.
So we then work with subject matter experts that are from those they're theologians or pastors that tell us, okay, in this translation, this word would not really mean the same thing, And
we have an expression in Bible translation: the translator is always a traitor, because there are things that you just miss, and that's why the beauty of even reading in the original languages. But if we're going to get that message to every tongue, tribe, and nation, it's going to be multiple translations as well. Okay, so then for church leaders, pastors, and others, we've had some conversations about how people can use some of the resources. What is Come and See mainly about a global missions endeavor? It's certainly about a global missions process, but where does it relate to maybe people listening right now in English who are in the West?
Right. Well, and that's where third pillar, so the second pillar being...
I'm leading without even knowing
That's all right.
Leading.
No, you
that's
are.
Okay,
it's perfect.
You're
beautiful. Good. And by the way, it speaks to the heart.
Yeah.
And when you can experience something like the Joe's in your heart language, it does speak not just to your ear, but your heart. So third would be give to the world, which is this distribution. And we are... so grateful for already the partners that have come alongside, like Glue, like YouVersion. Oh, extraordinary. I mean, YouVersion carries episodes of The Chosen.
It's fascinating.
And you now, because the goal is, let's encourage people to go to Scripture. And sometimes they go to say, is that in the Scripture? Did Jesus really say that or do that? And say, oh yeah, it's right there. And so it gives people that motivation to really go to and that's the inspired part of The Chosen is uninspired. They don't claim even to be a Christian show, which I'm kind of happy about because of what Christian show means sometimes.
Right, that's fair.
But it is then takes to, because really what's happening in the world, as you would know, the church is exploding outside the West.
Sure.
In what we used to be called the global South, now
majority
the majority world.
Yeah, all around the world.
So South America, Asia, and Africa. And so those are so critical. And so we just feel like, okay, giving to the world means who already is doing work in those spaces? Can we partner with them, give them the tools and resources? And so we also are in charge of licensing. And all of that there's no charge for it. But we do want to know that people are using it.
There's some sense that you just can't use this willy-nilly or irresponsibly. So that's the licensing part. But the intent is, it's a nonprofit foundation that helps communicate the message, in this case, a dramatic portrayal of Jesus and the apostles. So then if I wanted to learn more information, how would I engage and learn more information about what you're doing?
Well, the easiest, the app, which is the Chosen is develop it. We kind of stand behind it and license it, but there's a donate button on that, which is great. And that keeps it, by the way, that's what keeps it free. Because as you said, if you have cable or you're watching on Netflix, you're paying a fee. But you can always watch it for free on your phone. And
which I actually have sent to people that are friends and they said, well, I said, listen, this is free. And they said, well, they know that streaming, it's sort of, if you're got Amazon Prime, it feels sort of free. But they actually know that the fact that it's given away on the app is a sign of something. And I think that's a good thing.
It is. And so that's important for us. But again, let's take that next step. And I'd love this. There's a scene in season 1, I think episode 4, the catch of the fish. And Simon is in the boat, and Andrew, he's already bought into Jesus, but Simon's not so sure. And then these fish come in, and because he's put the nets out.
That's a great scene.
And he comes on the shore, and he drops to his knees, and he says, "Depart from me, for I'm a sinful man." And Jesus says, "Simon, stand up." And he says, "From now on, you're not going to fish for fish, but for men." And he says, "What do I do now?" And those 2 words that define for all of us, follow me. And what does that mean? That is, those 2 words are so packed with what we are called to do. And guess what? Not everybody wants to follow Jesus. They want the healing part. The crowds that came around him. Or the good words, or the wise teacher, all that. But the following me is take up your cross and follow me. And so that takes local pastors, churches, people where the community is now being an encouragement to them, because we all come as damaged goods. We come to Jesus, we're all messed up, right? Mm-hmm. And so yet in that process, and that's what's so great about the characters that are portrayed. Mm-hmm. They're kind of messed up, right? Just like we are. Yeah. And as they come to know who Jesus, and we're going to see that as season 4 goes on, as they see really who they're dealing with. And I just love that part of it. And discipleship is a passion of mine. But it's not an easy road, but it is so fulfilling. And it's what Jesus wants for us. And by the way, the Great Commission, it doesn't say go out and make converts, right? It's make disciples. And I think this is a setup, if you will, to bring people to that point of realizing who Jesus is and that beautiful story that he is a part of, and it is his story. And then he invites us into that relationship as a disciple. So for us, it's exciting. And I think to your point about church leaders, we are so grateful and independent. We're just starting. So, also through the other ways, through the website, comencfoundation.org. Yep. And people can go, and there's a resource section. Glue has been a great partner with that. And they've created actually some clips and sermon notes that you can use. It's free, but just getting a license for it. But also just to find out, what is that you can do to us. So get in touch with us. And I'm going to give my email address.
Please do, right here, right here.
Yeah, stan@comencfoundation.org.
Who would have guessed?
Who would have guessed? Yes. But I mean, because we want to find those partners around the world that will take this out and be able to share it with people. And by the way, on the phone is it's my pocket here. I did silence it before.
Good, thank you.
But there are 8 billion people in the world, plus or minus. I think plus. There are 6 billion smartphones. And somebody made the comment, sorry, you can edit this out. There are more smartphones than toilets in the world.
Yeah,
and
true.
Both are producing the same kind of material sometimes, but why not redeem this device, this innovation that God has allowed us to have and has encouraged us, this information superhighway. I compare it to the Roman roads of our day, right? And it's not original to me, but that was what God used, that technology to take the gospel out in the first century when Jesus ascended and the disciples were scared. They had this transportation system that was all set up for them. We have that today, a communication system, and it's called the information superhighway, and that can take this message out through this beautifully told story that is capturing people from kids to adults and senior adults and little kids that are just finding a connection to Jesus like they've never felt before.
Stan, what can pastors and church leaders do to, in some ways, seize the moment that the Chosen is creating, or maybe you engage some of the resources that are available as well?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, just maybe show a clip in church. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazed, even my own church, how many people have never seen it. And for whatever reason, maybe like mine, they don't want to be disappointed, or just have too many people are talking about it. Some people are that way. Right,
it's true.
Everybody's talking, I don't want to see it.
Right.
So I think just maybe show a clip. And again, you can go to our resource page on comencfoundation.org. And I think then, and here's something we've been doing. My wife and I are taking another couple, happens to be my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. He's a new believer and grew up in the Catholic Church, but then after catechism really kind of left it and didn't really go back. And he came to Christ through our church, through a gospel invitation. And then we invited him, let's start watching The Chosen. And so we, as just almost like a little small group, they've been watching it. And I mean, the growth that we're seeing. And Amanda's written some wonderful study guides for each season, which are beautiful because it takes you to Scripture. It's extraordinary. And I've never seen a new believer grow that quickly. But it's led to, now they're starting to volunteer in church. Their work. So it's not just that I know this now, I want to do something. And it just is a beautiful thing. So I think for pastors, it's a way to really introduce and really to augment. I mean, there's so many different scenes that really go along with popular passages that pastors sometimes preach on. And to use that to kind of augment and open up, again, I keep saying, open up the imagination of people to think of what that would be like and to actually see that. And it's so well produced. And then could build a sermon around that, but I think also for classes, for small groups, it's an extraordinary way to get people, draw them in. I think especially for people who have not grown up in the church, or maybe at one time were there but have left it. And it's a way to kind of invite them back without making them feel like, okay, I'm going to get this hard sell, And so to me, we'd love to partner with local churches, church networks, denominations, and of course the global church, which is where God is working really, really in a strong, serious way. He's all about the world. He loved the whole world, and I think we need to be focused on that as well.
Well, we got 2024 season coming here. Like the set we're standing on right now is not yet been seen in the show. We're excited about that. You can't give away too many secrets. What are you excited about in 2024?
Well, season 4 for sure, because there's a lot going to be going on in season 4. But I'm excited too about this global impact of what the show is doing. And I think, again, the Bible is kind of a unifier. People that are know the Bible in different translations. But I think what's happening with all the strife and conflict, it's not going to get better in 2024. It could get worse globally with our nation. I think that Jesus is the unifier we need, and his story is the hope that we need. So I think for 2024, with a dark canvas that our world is becoming, and I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist, but it's sometimes I think a lot of people are anxious.
A lot.
Here is the true story. And guess what? Jesus went through things that he could certainly identify with what we're going through, because as season 4 unfolds, again, the raising of Lazarus, that's in the trailer, so it's not, I'm not giving anything away.
Secrets, okay.
That triggered huge opposition. I mean, that's when the people who opposed him said, we've got to kill him. Literally said that. So he knew what it was like to experience this kind of anxiety and persecution, and he was human. So he couldn't just say, well, I'm Jesus, I can get around this. I mean, it was troubling for him, but he knew what he had to do. So I think for our world, we need to embrace that and see the story that gives us hope, the true hope, the only hope that we have in this world.
Stan Jantz, comeandseefoundation.org. Stan at comeandseefoundation.org. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed.